When you first hit California prison, everything changes. The smell, the sound, the way people look at you. It's like stepping into another world. If you're white, the question comes quick. You run with the woods? Most people on the outside don't even know what that means. Some say the woods are just white inmates sticking together. Others call them a gang. Structured, organized, and ruthless. But here's the thing. When that gate shuts behind you, it doesn't matter what you think you are. You either with them or you're standing alone in a place where standing alone can get you killed. The man I sat down with, he went in as a kid, a juvenile lifer thrown into the wolves' den of California's hardest prisons. And in this interview, he breaks down what being a wood really means. Not the stories, not the rumors, but the truth from someone who lived it, cell by cell, yard by yard. And when he finished talking, I realized that being a wood isn't something you join, it's something you survive. This is DOCTV Unleashed, and this is the woods and California prisons. What's up, everybody? I'm Blessed and Free. Welcome back to another episode of DOC TV Unleashed. You might not recognize this guest, but you probably do if you've been tuning in to content on this channel. He's been on it quite a few times, and all his videos got a lot of views, and they also got a lot of comments. And there's a lot of people talking reckless in those comments. So what I wanted to do today is let Tommy address some of those, and we're going to get right into that. But before we do, if you could, man, do me a solid, just hit that subscribe button and turn your post notifications on, so every time I do drop videos like this, you can hear it first. All right, man. So for the people that don't know who you are, and just to give the audience a brief description, this guy was sentenced to life as a juvenile in the California prison system. He's been to all the tough camps, and without further ado, man, go ahead and just tell the people your name, where you're from, and we can jump right into these crazy ass comments.
So, well, my name's Tommy, man. I'm from Santa Maria, California, which is on the Central Coast. I don't live there anymore. You know, since I paroled, they paroled me quite a bit of ways. They wanted me to stay away from the area. As far as that goes, we were talking about the comments and, the videos. First thing I want to address is, because it seems like it got a lot of feedback, is the gang thing, right? The woods not being a gang. I understand that philosophy. I understand that position. But I'm going to say why it's not true. What I'll do is I'll dress it in a way why I understand. When I came into prison, I wasn't from a gang. I didn't belong to anything. I wasn't on the streets gang banging. I was criminal. I was a criminal. I hung out with other criminals, right? But when I came to prison, I wasn't a skinhead. I wasn't, part of the brand. I wasn't none of that. What I was a white guy. So I fell in with the woods, right? And for most of my term, if you would have asked me if I was a gang member, I would have told you no, because I believed that, right? But when I started doing the homework for the parole board, I realized really fast the definition of a gang, right? Definition of a gang where two or more gathered together to commit crime, right? And what were we doing in prison? Committing crime, right? And that's the simple definition, right? So that's just a simple definition of what a gang is, right? We're all woods. But what we do is we regulate each other, right? There's a shot caller for the woods. There's a person in place that, we set up an organization inside prison. We have the main shot caller. We have building reps. We have people who, handle roll call, money, drugs. We sell dope. We, stab people. There's violation of our rules. It's severe consequences, right? We stab each other for it, right? We try to kill people as a result. Those are the rules that the brand sent down, but we still enforce them. Right? Are there white guys on the yard that don't get involved in the politics and all that stuff? Absolutely, 100%. Right? Those guys tend to stay back, but when something kicks off, they're usually, have to be involved. Right? But again, we're forcing other people to live by our rules. Right? So why isn't that not a gang? How is that not a gang?
It almost sounds better to not be classified as a gang, because from what I've taken from interviewing guys in California prison system, that once you are a validated gang member, like, your time becomes hard time, because they literally just throw you in the shoe and
right? Yeah. Up until that time, now they don't do that. Now they can't do that, right? Due to the hunger strikes and all this different stuff that lawsuits and stuff like that, there was a deal made that no longer can they give you indeterminate shoe is deemed inhumane, right? Guys were back there for 40 some years, some guys, So yeah, you're absolutely 100% correct. It was, but we still functioned as a gang, right? We may not have titled ourselves as a Peckerwood gang, but we did function as a gang, right? And youth authority, same thing. We were Peckerwood family, right? We called each other Peckerwood family, or we called ourselves just, Peckerwoods, but we functioned as a gang. People tattooed on themselves Peckerwood. I mean, it is a gang without the name. There was one guy, and I'm going to use his name on the thing, on the comments. He was a juggalo or whatever, right? Damn, my alarm's going off. Hold on.
Juggalo as in like the Insane Clown Posse?
Yeah, I mean, yes, yes, right. It was in his title of his name as far as his website or his email or whatever.
Well, listen, then whatever he says has to be truth.
Well, exactly, right? And I laughed. And that's why I commented. I said, coming from a juggalo, right? These are guys that can't program on the main line, period, right? So who are you to tell me I spent my entire term on the main line with the very few exceptions, right? And you're going to tell me that this is what's up? I'm like, no, I don't think so. You know what I mean? But it's just saying, I wanted to address that in the sense that I understand where the guys are coming from, especially the old school hats that are in there making comments, H numbers, J numbers, D numbers and stuff. I get where they're coming from, right? Because I was under that same mindset up until I got denied for 5 years at the parole board, because when they asked me about my gang involvement, I said, what gang involvement? I'm not from a gang. And they just said, okay, boom, denied. That was it. That was the end of the freaking parole hearing. Right. And I'm like, that's bullshit. I'm not from a gang. I 602'd them. I did all kinds of appeals. I started studying it. And I realized that, yes, maybe not by name, but by function, we are a gang. Right. And that's why we titled that episode Gang. Right. We are a gang in every way except name.
Yeah. And a lot of people, I don't think, understand too, when I'm titling these videos and like even making the intros that I do for, before the interviews, that's strictly because YouTube's titles, like they rank, and there's certain words that will rank better for people to find the video. And then the intro, people like to see these fast, nonstop content coming at them. Yeah. And I try to do that to, not only represent what the interview's about, but to grab their attention so they stay to listen to the interview. Because like in your interviews, man, you have a lot of knowledge that hasn't been exposed to the internet correctly by a person that actually walked the main line, that, there wasn't a Wes Watson and did, reception and then got shipped to Oklahoma.
Yeah. And that's, I've read a little bit about, or I've listened to a couple episodes of different people's stuff where they addressed, Wes Watson as being a good guy, which I'm not saying he's a bad guy. What I'm saying is that a lot of the stuff he talks about doing or seeing done wouldn't have taken place where he was at, or if he participated in it, there's absolutely no way he could have done that from the lower levels and stayed on lower level, So I don't know, I don't know the guy. Don't care one way.
So for the people that don't understand the politics in California, so like a Wood isn't a gang, but from what I understand, if say me, myself, I'm not affiliated, I walk into the California prison system and I just happen to, you're my cellie, right? Now, isn't it almost forced for me to become a Wood and then have to abide by your code?
You're a Wood right away. You're a Wood. You could say you're not, but you're a Wood. You're identified by everybody else as a Wood. If you're not a skinhead and you're not part of NLR or any of the other ones, then you're a Wood, period. That's it. That's all. Nobody's going to even acknowledge you as anything else, So, I mean, I get you're going to come in, you're going to get schooled down by the Wood pile, and the Wood pile is going to run down. These are our rules. These are regulations. These are things you need to do. If you don't want to be involved in nothing, that's fine. However, these are going to be your expectations. This is how you're going to live your life. And you better be contributing in some way to the Wood pile, because you're not going to enjoy the protection of the Wood pile without doing something to earn that protection. Right. You don't always have to be putting in work. It could be making weapons. It could be holding dope. It could be whatever. Maybe you're in a position, maybe you get put in a position like canteen. For a long time, we were smuggling shit through the canteen into the AdSeg, right? There's a guy that we wanted in that position that was not a threat. Like the cops didn't see him as a threat, the inmates didn't see him as a threat, but he would funnel stuff for us, right? So he was completely off the radar, and he wasn't under suspicion, right? I couldn't go work in there. I did for a little while, and I got thrown in AdSeg for introduction of contraband into AdSeg, right? Immediately. I wasn't there 3 months, So it was immediate, right? So because I was under suspicion, because I was involved, they immediately knew that I was, because our canteen on that facility sent all the canteen to the AdSeg. We were cutting the soaps in half, like the Jergens and stuff, cutting them in half and hollowing them out and packing them full of dope, and then cleaning up the edges, putting them back together, gluing them back together, cleaning up the edges to make it look like a solid bar soap, putting them back in the paper, back in the 4-pack, and then putting them in people's canteens. When,
It's a good idea.
It was a great idea until somebody told on us, right? They were cutting the soaps in half, but we also knew that in the AdSeg at the time, they weren't doing that. You know what I'm saying? So we were able to, for a long time, we got away with it. We put kites in the law library, in the books and stuff like that, right? And so when the guys would get taken to the law library, we had somebody in the law library that would put the kites in the books for us on a certain case law. And they would, you know what I mean? Yeah. There'd be, we'd iron out heroin and make it real flat and put it in those books, check out those books, put them back, and then let the other guy would put them in there, and he'd come in and boom, there it is, It was just the way we handled shit,
I don't know if I asked you this in previous episodes, but during your time, man, how many people would you say are either strung out on drugs, doing drugs nonstop, or are in that just complete drug lifestyle in prison?
I would say about 80% of at least the whites. About 80% of the whites.
Damn.
At least, right? And sometimes more. And it just depends on the facility, man. When the first time I ever walked onto a level 3 was, I want to say like 2016. They just did this new thing where if you had no write-ups for a while, they could do a behavior override. So my points were real high. I was like in the 200s or something. So, and I needed to be under 59 to go to a level 3, right? But you only lose like 8 to whatever a year. I think they just changed. They were, at the time they hadn't changed it. So it was only 8 a year. So there's no way I'm ever going to level 3 unless they change something. Well, they changed the behavior override system. They sent me down to a level 3, and I landed on Pleasant Valley. I don't know that there were any whites there, with the exception of me and one other guy, man, that wasn't getting high and strung out. You know what I mean? And it was just, it was so bad that I just stayed away from the whoop pile. I would go over and just do my little burpees off to the side. I'd come out of Volk. I'd go do my little burpees off to the side and kind of just, and the whites were like, hey, man, why don't you fuck with us? What's there to fuck with? All you guys do over there all day long is shoot dope, talk about dope, how you're going to get more dope, plot on each other. I'm good, bro. I'm gonna go do my.
That's crazy. I did 2 bids in Florida, and the only time I ever did drugs in prison was I smoked a stick of weed.
Yeah.
If I were to start doing that, I know myself, I have an addictive personality. I would have been getting into all types of unnecessary shit because of how it changed. Drugs change any man, especially in an atmosphere like that. So I always wanted to be on point. You know what I'm saying?
We talk a lot. The internet talks about the violence against child molesters, rapos, snitches, people like that, right? But 90% of the violence in prison is over drugs, bro. Drug debts. And that's no bullshit, bro. I was in prison. It was right after the very first riot, man. I seen some guy get his head nearly chopped off over a rat ass $50, right? It wasn't over $50, right? Yeah, I mean, they cut this dude so hard, bro. He passed away over a $50 drug debt, right? It wasn't the $50. It was him lying to the guys about the money being sent.
Right, the principle of that, yeah.
Right, yeah, the principle, right? But it was more like, hey, you keep lying. Now you're putting us in a cross and whatever, and the dude ends up getting I don't know how I don't know what weapon they used. I would just happen to look out my door because I heard a scuffling during showers, and I looked out and this dude's leaking all over the place, man. And he ended up dying later on. I don't know if he was dead when he left, but by the time he got to the hospital, he was no longer.
What's the main drug that people are addicted to, would you say?
Heroin, by far. Heroin. I'll be honest, as a drug dealer in prison, I preferred to sell heroin. You know what I mean? But because tweakers...
Oh, I already know.
They're hard to deal with,
Yeah, and you never know what they'll do.
Yeah, and they get all weird, tweaked out, and then they get paranoid and lock up, especially when they've been up for a long time, So heroin was like, people don't want to get sick, so they're going to keep coming with money.
Yeah, they got to have it.
They got to have it, dude. With the speed, it's the other way around, man. They get all weird for 4 or 5 days and sleep for 3 or 4 days. and then, you think that would be better, but man, these guys are the speed. The thing that bothered me about the speed so much was like, you go by somebody's house that's been tweaking for a couple of days and man, they got that thing tinted up, touching on themselves and doing all that weird shit, and all kinds of things.
And they're whispering, "Hey man, there's mics all in the vents, though. Don't you're talking too loud."
Yeah, one of my friends, bro, he broke his TV because he thought it had a little microphone in it. You know what I mean? He was tearing his TV apart. We were in the shoe too, bro.
Oh, that's funny.
And this dude was tipped up, big homie dude, and he was ripping his shit apart. I was laughing at him. I'm like, "Bro, what are you doing?" And he goes, "Man, careful, bro. They're after us. They're trying to record our conversations and stuff." And I'm just laughing at him, I'm like, "All right, bro, I'll talk to you in a couple days after you slept for a little while,
Yeah, for real. That's crazy. Out of your time, man, now that you're like free, and I don't know if the people know, but you go back into prisons and actually like help guys that are close to getting out, right?
Yeah, that's a hard thing to do too, man. I didn't realize that when I took the job. I didn't realize how hard it was to have to walk back in. You know what I mean?
Like to the actual prison?
Yeah, to go inside of a prison again after being there for so long and working so hard to get out of there. Walking back in. At first it was kind of like cool. I get to see some of the homeboys, talk to them, let them know what it's like out here. But then you get to that position to where it's like, damn, I'm driving up to a prison. I'm having to deal with the guards all over again because they still treat me like, I'm in.
Really?
Yeah, for the most part, some of them are cool, but it's weird. It's like the administration treats you fair, but some of the guards still kind of look at you like an inmate. You know what I mean? Because you are. To them, you're always going to be, right? So you get that little attitude, like, who the fuck are you? Why are you in here? How come they let you in here? Things like that. But the idea that I get to help other people find their freedom, and I think that's the biggest issue for me, bro, is being able to walk into a prison, sit down with a group of guys, because I work in a class setting, right? So I'm not a teacher. Well, my title is life coach, but facilitator is what we do. We facilitate a conversation. And the idea is I try to help people prepare for the parole board. I help them understand, like we got a 12-step program we call Criminal Gangs Anonymous. And then I also do emotional intelligence, right? Understanding what's going on inside of yourself. So, because look, our whole life has been based on an impulse. You know what I mean? We do things out of impulse. And most of that is because we don't know how to regulate ourselves, So it's all about regulation. It's a cool program, man. I really enjoy doing it. I really enjoy having those conversations with those guys and stuff, man. And, watching it, it's when the light bulb goes off, they get it. Right. And then you see their transformation. That's one of probably the best.
How long have you been doing that now?
October. I got hired October last year.
So almost a year this October.
Almost a year this October, but it takes a long time to get into the institution. But, I still mentor a lot of guys, via the phone or through messages and stuff like that,
Let me ask you a question. When you're helping these guys, I'm assuming some of the guys you've helped inside are now out. Have you ran across anybody that helped a lot and put your, heart and soul into trying to get them, and then they got out and went in the opposite way?
No, I haven't actually ran into anybody except for guys that I helped while I was in, because I did the same thing inside. I facilitated groups. I mentored people while I was inside, and I've ran into a couple of them who are doing well, but I've never ran into any. I know of people who got out and went back to being, one of my friends, I'll use his name too, Mike Carter, man, one of my best friends, dude. He got out, he did really good for a long time, but he's a rapper. He's a white guy, but he was a rapper. And he started his own studio, got his own record label going out in Fresno, and he was doing really good, bro. And then, but he went back to rapping about that gangster lifestyle and ended up hanging out with a lot of them dudes, and, went back to partying with the dudes. And next thing you know, man, I haven't heard from him in a long time, bro. And, I can't even get a hold of him. I don't see no activity in his Facebook or on his Twitter or any of this stuff,
Yeah, that's not good.
Oh, so either he's in jail or, something real bad, hopefully he's in jail. I would prefer him to be in jail than pass away.
Well, they say you hang around the barbershop long enough, you're bound to get a haircut.
Well, I tell people that in group every day. I say one of my biggest sayings is, if you want to be successful, hang out with successful people. You know what I mean? If you want to be a bum, go hang out under the bridge. You know what I mean? It's
facts.
just the way it is, bro. I had a roommate, man. but not too long ago, who I had to kick out because, once he kind of got off parole, he started hanging out with these homeless people. I say homeless, like he was dating this homeless chick, bro. And I'm like, what are you doing? Right? You just got out. I understand you know her. I understand you knew her from before. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Elevate
Where is that gonna go? Nowhere but downhill.
Yeah. And next thing you know, dude, I'm finding dope spoons around the pad and shit.
Oh shit. Yeah.
I'm like, you gotta go, bro.
Yeah. You gotta go ASAP.
I'm not even waiting till the end of the month. You gotta go. You know what I mean? And he was like, what? And I go, no, you got to. I said, here's the deal. My parole officer comes over and sees that stuff. I'm the one in trouble, not you. You're off parole now. I'm the one that's going to catch flack over that. I'm not.
Yeah, and you would too, because he would turn around and say, "Oh, that ain't mine."
Yeah, he wouldn't. Yeah, and he even tried to say it wasn't. I said, it doesn't matter, even if it's somebody else that you brought home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's my house. I'm responsible for it.
Yep. And so he left. I mean, he called me up the other day. He's been clean for about 35. He's not asking for anything, but he's been clean for about 35 days. So I'm happy for him now. But he's still homeless. But I'm like, that's what you get. And I don't mean to be a dick, but that's what you get. You hung out with them people, and now you're living their lifestyle.
It's sad, but sometimes you got to lay in the bed you make.
Yeah. Well, my mom always told me that when I was a kid, man. You make your bed of roses, thorns and all, and only you get to decide how many thorns are in there. You know what I mean? I
like that saying. I ain't heard that one.
Yeah, my mom's from Alabama, right? So, she got a lot of...
Mom's always right, too.
Yeah, and what's funny about it, right, is she didn't tell me the second part of that is you can, at any point in your life, decide to take those thorns back out. You don't have to keep laying on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, facts.
And that's what it's all about.
You have a YouTube channel. You have no videos, and you've already almost at 300 subscribers.
I know. I'm going to actually work with you on that next week, right? I was talking to my girlfriend about it today. I need to get that done. I have been putting in almost 100 hours a week at work, right? So, and then when I do get a day off or whatever, I'm dealing with family issues and kids. And, like last weekend, there was 10 people in my apartment, 2 families, bunch of kids, and as far as, so there was a couple of not concerns. I don't really have a whole lot of concerns, right? About the comments. The comments are what they are. People are ignorant or people are uninformed. However you want to look at it, right? There was some other issues in regards to one thing I'll never discuss is I don't use a whole lot of names unless people are passed away or I'm not concerned with them, right? Permission to speak, right, is not a thing, right? Everything I say has already been laid out at some point or another, right? I'm never going to put myself in jeopardy with the FBI, with the DEA, or anything else. I was telling you about a guy not too long ago in one of my videos where I had to jump in and help him. There was like this that thing, and we all jumped in. I ended up in ADSEG. Well, I just actually hooked up. He see me on here, and he calls me up. I hooked up with him, man, and went and had lunch with him and his family and stuff, bro. He's completely flipped his life around as a result of that incident, which I think is awesome. But just brought back a lot of memories at that time, man. Things were very tumultuous. The system was changing because that was about the time when a lot of these guys, tipped up dudes were getting kicked out of the shoe. The whole getting out of the validation thing, they had just kind of eliminated. You're still validated, but you can't indeterminate somebody anymore. There was a lot of people moving and shaking and trying to be impressive and stuff like that because they knew these dudes were coming out. And that's what him and I were talking about is that whole situation. Like, he has a whole different view of what happened than I do, right? So for a long time, he was pissed off at me, and I didn't even know it. He thought I had something to do with it because of my status. In reality, I was as blind to it as he was, right? And that goes to the snake thing that we talk about, because the dude, and I'll use his name because he ain't no good anymore. His name's Frank Gillette, right? He was a former NLR member. He had showed up on the facility. When he did, we had got word that he was no good, but the people that were sending the word, we were skeptical, and we believed it to be a personal issue, right? So we were like, let's clarify from somebody who has more authority. And, before we go make any moves on this dude, well, we come to find out the dude was all right as far as we were understood, right? The guys we contacted said, no, he's good. That's a personal issue between him and that dude. They'll deal with it when they see each other. So we're working with this dude, Frank, right? Because he's with the business. He's been down a long time. He understands the politics. And he's, well versed, and I've done a ton of years in the shoe, well known throughout the institution. They called him Elwood. That was what they called him back then, right? Come to find out, man, he's the one that snaked on us. You know what I mean?
Oh man,
this is a dude that we went to bat for, right? And went through channels, bro. We could have smashed him and whacked him, and never felt bad about it, right?
It's always the closest ones, man.
Yeah, and then he turned around, man, and he somehow or another he got into contact with somebody else that had a little issue with this other dude, and in order to try to save himself, you know, he made some shit happen, man. But it goes back to that, like there was this kid Donald that was involved, right? And he has a nickname. I won't use his nickname, but his first name was Donald. There was this kid Donald involved that he was young, and I schooled that kid when he first got to the yard. This is what you do. This is what you need to do. This because he wanted to be a gangster. So I laced him up. Well, it was that kid that did the move, right? But I wasn't mad at him. I was like, all right, motherfucker. At least he was with the business, you know. I was just a little bit upset that somebody used him as a torpedo against my inner circle. It wasn't towards me. Matter of fact, the guy tried to save me. He tried to keep me out of it, but being a blockhead that I was, I went and jumped in and got myself caught up. But
so I'm looking at some of these comments, and one comment said, imagine someone like Tommy in the real world would have been CEO or run a Fortune 500 companies. These guys are go-getters.
You know what? That was another conversation that David and I had. Me and my friend David talked about that. All those people that were involved in the politics that got out of prison, that were like down with it, and not drug addicts, but down with it, right? They got out, man, and most of them are successful. Most of them are very successful people. I'm in the process of starting my own stuff, like and I'm not just talking about YouTube, but like getting together with another organization and starting a transitional house, things like that, right? I mean, for me, that's passive income, I'm trying
income's good income, man.
Yeah. I'm trying to get back into the killing business, right? And I don't mean that I'm being funny, but I'm being.
Well, I got a couple names for you.
Well, are they Angus or Hereford?
No.
So, actually, I'm looking into going to people's ranches and killing their cows for them. Dressing them.
That's a thing.
It's $350 a cow. It costs you about an hour of your time. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So how do I sign up for that?
You got a cow?
I don't have a cow. I need a cow.
Yeah. Oh, no. But so you need a freezer truck. You need some equipment. You need a truck that can pull it. You know what I mean? And or you need a freezer trailer. And what you do is people call you up, and dude, and it is like.
Can you kill like 5 cows all at once and load them up?
You can do as many as you can do. I know the guy that wants to train me, man. He did 12 in one day.
12 cows, and it's how much per cow?
He gets $350 a cow.
Damn.
But there's a slow season. That's the thing, right?
Right.
So the fall into some of the winter, like the end of summer, fall, and early winter are like the best times, and then it slows way down, and then it picks back up.
Yeah,
right?
The first cow I'd kill was Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah, hey, I'm gonna say this. I made a comment about that, right? That chick right there. I used to love watching her show when I was.
Me too, bro. She flip flopped like a crazy.
When I stopped liking her is when she had that comment with that little conversation with Tom Selleck, man, where she was talking about the Second Amendment, right? And he was saying, well, it's okay for you to have armed bodyguards, but not okay for me to own a gun. That don't even make any freaking sense, right? And then she just laid into him, bro. And and he just got there quietly, and I was thinking to myself, man, this chick's crazy.
I want to get your thoughts on Charlie Kirk, man. What did that do? Seeing that? Did you see the actual?
I seen it.
Boom out of his neck.
Yeah. So, there's going to be all kinds of conspiracies, man. But I'm going to just say this, right? If you can't have, peaceful discourse in this country, dude, it's over.
I know.
It's over, bro. Charlie Kirk was a great man. You don't have to agree with his ideology, with his opinions. But you know what? He did it peacefully, and he did it with love. There wasn't a time. I've seen 1,000 interviews with that dude. I've watched him for a long time. And I've never once seen him disrespect anybody or even take anything personal from anybody.
Right.
Plenty of people got up there, disrespected him, called him names, all that stuff. And, you're on my Facebook. So you seen me. I was going back for it. That guy's been friends since I was 7 years old. Me and that guy. You know what I mean? And I unfriended him, man. For me, I can't do it, right? Because I go to that place in my brain that, it's not just about cows anymore. You know what I mean? And right. I don't need that in my life right here.
Yeah,
right?
And he had a beautiful family. Their wife and kids were there. and
Yeah.
and the coward did it.
Yeah.
Like, straight ran, and then his own dad turned him in, which tells you that
Yeah.
his dad knew his son was fucking cuckoo, because it tells you something when the parents are calling the FBI on you.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, bro, I mean, the stuff he wrote on the bullets, I mean, everything, right?
I know,
I mean,
crazy.
it's just like, come on, man. That dude, it wasn't hurt nobody. He was having a conversation with people, bro. And what it was is people like him, because I asked somebody to define hate speech for me, because I want to know what hate speech is, right? And you're telling me that hate speech is just disagreeing. That's not true.
No.
Not true. I could disagree. Dude, it's like I told my friend, bro, if you want to go fuck some guy in a fucking dress, that's your business. I don't give a fuck. Well, don't tell me I have to be okay with it.
Yeah, or you don't tell your kids they need to do it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. And that's what I kept saying. Keep that shit out of the classroom, man. If you want to grow up, you want to wear a dress, who gives a fuck? It's your business.
right.
And that's the same thing Charlie Kirk was saying, man. Keep it out of the classroom. If you want in your private life, go do something, that's your freaking business, man. Keep it out of the classrooms and don't indoctrinate our children. You know what I mean?
I agree 100%.
Our schools, don't put our freaking men in women's bathrooms. Don't put men. Look what happened in the Olympics with the boxing, man. That was a fucking travesty.
I know.
You know what I mean? That fucking blew my mind that they let dudes go in there and whoop on chicks.
Yeah,
And then
that should be a crime, man.
it is a crime. You know what I mean? Absolutely a crime, man. If I would have done that, I would have been fucking in prison again.
Yeah, me too. How can the people find your YouTube?
I'm at CellBlock64 on YouTube. I'm gonna put up a video. I will put up those shorts, and then I'm still learning this thing a little bit. There was a little bit of a conflict that I had with some other stuff. I had to make sure that I was cleared, so I didn't lose my jobs. You know what I mean? But I am, as long as I don't, mention them and I don't glorify some things. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
I'm okay, so I just wanted to be, 100% clear on that before I did something. And
I respect that.
you know what I mean? And, but I will, and I'll get with you next week, man, and we'll sit down and I'll do a video. You'll just talk me through it a little bit.
Yeah.
Get me started. And then, I'm going to sit down with my old lady, probably, I want to say on the weekend sometime,
Sounds good, man. I appreciate you coming on the channel again, man, and sharing your story.
No problem, man. Anytime. Also, if you got anything else, I do want to talk about AdSeg next time and things like that. Like,
whatever, man. I'm always down to do it. Right. And if you guys are tuning in, I'm going to put his link to his YouTube in the description of this video, so you guys can go ahead and subscribe. So when he does drop videos and those shorts, you'll be able to see it first, man. And again, appreciate you coming on the show. If you like this type of content, prison, jail, crime, corruption, but the most important thing that we try to talk about on this channel is how to change your life from all that, so you don't ever have to experience that again. If you like that type of content, subscribe to the channel, hit that like. It helps push these videos in the algorithm more than you know. And with that, this is DOC TV Unleashed, and we're out.